where he has some of his belongings, and the judge said that he is not allowed to go back, not even with law enforcement officers. If he wants to get those belongings outside of the house, he's going to have a third party go back to that house to get them for him.
Okay, Alina Machado for us in Florida. Alina, thank you. Let's talk about this, all the legalities. I want to bring in CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin, also sitting alongside me here in Studio 7, criminal defense attorney Drew Findling, and former federal prosecutor and defense attorney Tanya Miller here with me in Atlanta. So, Jeff Toobin, I want to go to you first, actually, because I believe your ears perked to precisely what mine did. When I heard the judge's voice at the very end, I wrote this down. When you hear that charge, battery by strangulation, that jumped out at me because that was news, correct?
That was news, and what was also news was the claim by prosecutors that the alleged victim in this case claimed that there had been an additional domestic violence incident about a week earlier, the strangulation that you're referring to. So this is why when someone gets arrested, it's really just the beginning of the investigation. It's not the end. The question now will be, will the prosecution proceed to a trial with the event from yesterday as a felony charge, and perhaps additional charges relating to what might have happened earlier? Or will they decide that none of this is worthy of charges? This is when an investigation begins. There's a lot to look into, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, let me come back to you, but I want to go to both of you because something else that I was wondering, it's not often, we hear this 911 call that we just played partially, which is who we believe to be George Zimmerman. And I'm just curious, it seems like he's very going on the record, hey, this is what happened. Is that odd to you, him making a phone call?
I think it is. I
Why?
mean, because it sounded to me like a CYA call, a cover your butt call. It served him so well in the trial against Trayvon Martin. He did not have to testify because he got all of that stuff out through that 911 call. I think what he's trying to do, again, is to put out his version without anybody really challenging it and to cover his butt. That's what I think.
The other side could say he just maybe knows proper protocol. Yeah. I see you rolling your eyes, and I know a lot of people probably are as well, but, you know, there are two sides to every story. Drew Findling, your impressions?
Well, my thoughts are that this has got to leave the prosecution from the original case second-guessing themselves. A lot of people like myself were on your show many times saying, hey, racial profiling was Sanford police. That's a fact. But George Zimmerman is a private citizen, and what he had was a propensity for violence. He was a violent person that was gun-wielding. And now he's shown us once again who he really is, and it's got to leave the Monday morning quarterbacks like myself saying, hey, prosecutors, you fell prey to going to what the publicity would bring you, and the public wanted, not what would have won your case in court. Shame on you. Look what just happened.
I disagree.
Why?
I disagree with that, respectfully, my friend Drew Findling, because I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. You know, I don't think with all the evidence that you had in that case that Trayvon Martin would have been suspicious, accosted, and confronted by George Zimmerman had he not been black. I think a lot of people believe that, the prosecutor believed that, and that's why they went that route. You add to that this guy obviously has a problem with guns. He obviously has a sense of entitlement and superiority and probably anger management issues. That was a deadly combination for Trayvon Martin on that night he was killed.
You know, as a seasoned former prosecutor, there is nothing as racial profiling that applies to private citizens. It doesn't. By definition, under law, you just go to the internet, racial profiling applies to law enforcement. He wasn't law enforcement. He was fascinated with violence. That's what the prosecution should have done in the Trayvon Martin case. And maybe
shoulda, woulda, coulda. We're talking now. Hang on a second, Jeff Toobin. I want to get you in because speaking of guns, according to this girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, whatever she is, you know, she told police he pointed this shotgun directly at her. How do you prove that?
Well, let's just take one fact that can be determined. Was the gun in a case or not when the police went inside? If the gun is in a case, well, that would certainly suggest that Zimmerman was telling the truth, that he didn't. If the gun is out and perhaps easily accessible, that might support her story.
Police reports said they were locked up when they arrived.
Okay.
Well, I have not seen the police report yet.
That's what the report says.
Says that the gun was locked up?
Both guns. From what I read in our CNN Wire, yes, indeed.
That may well support his story. Again, there's a lot more to investigate. Did anyone else see anything? Did anyone else hear anything? Are there neighbors who saw or heard anything? These are very important facts that a thorough investigation presumably will reveal, and certainly there's been no time for that yet.
Okay. We're not finished with this. I'm sure we will see what happens as he is to be released on that $9,000 bond. Jeff Toobin, my thanks to you, and Drew Findling and Tanya Miller. Thanks to both of you here as well. Coming up, what a story out of Virginia today. The state